Our top story. Members of the UN Security Council are currently locked in talks ahead of a vote on a resolution on Syria. This follows weeks of debate over whether to impose sanctions against Bashar al-Assad's regime. For more details, let's now cross live to our correspondent, Marina Portnaya, who is in New York for us. Now, Marina, if you could bring us up to date on what's happening there at the Security Council.
Well, Security Council members are now meeting at the United Nations to discuss and ultimately vote on this resolution. From what we are being told, the resolution would condemn Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's 6-month crackdown on anti-government protesters. And the current resolution would reportedly also lead to measures against Assad if he did not respond within 30 days on instructions on how he plans to end the violence and impose reforms in his country. Now, of course, this is a push that the U.S. and Western European countries have been making within the United Nations for quite some time. We do know that the U.S. and Turkey and some other European countries have imposed their own sanctions against Syria, but Western powers are really trying to send a message on an international platform, that platform being the UN Security Council. We do know that Russia has spoken out over and over again against any sanctions against Syria, saying that both sides need to sit down and negotiate with one another, that if sanctions are imposed on only one side, that means that the international community would be supporting the movement of the opposition, and it would be better off, of course, for the international community to try to get both sides to come together. This, of course, coming nearly 6 months after these protests have began in Syria. Anti-government protesters taking to the street calling for an end to President Assad's 11-year rule. We have been reading reports, and as our viewers know, that there's been reports that anywhere between 1,400 and 2,700 people have been killed since all the violence have broken out. The international community, of course, working on a way to resolve it, but we have to wait and see if this resolution will pave the way for that and if it will be supported.
Now, we know that Russia has opposed sanctions against Damascus in the past. Has Moscow's position changed, or has the UN moved their position a little bit?
Well, Moscow's position has not changed. As a matter of fact, there have been reports that indicate that Russian officials say that they will not support this European draft UN resolution that will be voted on today, calling it unacceptable. And that's because the text has refused to, the text opens the door for punitive sanctions against Syria. It's within the language, I guess, maybe a loophole or something, and that's something Russia does not support. It doesn't want there to be any door open for sanctions because Russia believes, as I just mentioned, that both sides need to come together for a political dialogue. This is something that was even mentioned to the Syrian opposition delegation when they came to visit Moscow, that both sides should come together. The international community should not be taking sides. Russia also wanted a clause in this resolution to not only condemn the Syrian government for the violence, but also condemn the protesters, so it would be more fair and balanced. And that is something that France, for example, says it is categorically against. So right now it is not clear whether Russia will use its veto or whether Russia will abstain for voting that could allow the resolution to still be adopted if China, for example, doesn't veto either. But that's what we're waiting on to see, if this resolution ultimately gets adopted, what it includes, and how the international community is going to move forward. So, of course, we're following the story, and we'll keep you up to date as soon as more information becomes available.
All right, thank you, Marina. It's going to be certainly interesting as this plays out. That was RT's Marina Portnaya reporting from New York.
Yes.